For a bit of winter colour interest, I'm going to plant up this hanging basket with some plants which are going to provide colour, berries and flowers right the way through till spring. I've got a berrying form of Panetia or Gaultheria, which has got some lovely fruits on it. Provided the birds don't get to these, this should keep going for some time. There's a little skimia called White Globe. Now, even though as we move through November, December into January, you'll have the flower buds on here, these won't be fully open till around about March into April time, but this provides some interest on this evergreen shrub right the way through the winter. And then a hardy perennial called a Heuchera, providing some foliage colour. This is a variety called Indian Summer with a lovely deep purplish veined leaf, and this will be a nice contrast for the other varieties too. Now, the basket itself, I've chosen one which has got a coir fibre lining, and the first thing I'm going to do is remove the chain, because it's much easier to plant up baskets if we remove the chain, so I'm going to do that first. Now, these coir linings should hold in the compost quite well. You can use them summer or winter, but I'm going to put just an extra layer of plastic in the bottom, just an old bit of compost bag, just to stop any compost dripping out the bottom. It's got a little drainage hole in it as well, and this will just hold the compost in place. In the summer, quite often I line baskets and pots completely with a little bit of polythene just to help the compost conserve more moisture and not lose it through the sides. And then a layer of compost in the bottom, and then we can work out the positions for the plants. Today I'm using a peat-free multi-purpose compost. This has got some John Innes compost mixed into it, completely peat-free, but it should be good for just keeping these plants going through the winter. It's worth just working out the position of the plants before you actually plant it. So I'm going to keep this skimmer at the back, little Heuchera on one side. I want to see this berrying Panetia from the house. I'm going to put that towards one edge here, skimmer on one side and the Heuchera on the others. So let's start with this little Panetia. Just remove it from its pot. It's a well-rooted plant. Yeah, plenty of roots on that. So I'm going to position that, work out which the best side of it is. I'm going to put it in just so that the berries tumble over the side, and fill in around the back with some compost to hold that in place. And once that's there, now I'm going to put in this nice little White Globe skimmer. Again, well-rooted plant. You can see the roots coming through the bottom of the pot already. So beautiful little specimen. Once that has finished the display in the winter pot, I can take this and plant it out in the garden, but if you buy a small plant like this, it's perfect for a patio pot for a while. Again, work out which way round you want it, work out the height. The planting height with the top of the compost in the pot should be just below the rim of the basket, so just ease the liner up so that it's just at the edge of the basket. Put that in place, and I think something like that should be fine. And again, filling around the root ball with some more compost. You just want to hold them in place for the moment. You can firm up with more compost a little bit later, but just want to get the positioning right. So there we are, that's the little skimmer in place. And then lastly, this nice little Indian Summer Heuchera. As I say, it's a hardy perennial that stays in leaf throughout the winter. And this, again, I'll put towards the side, just round here. A little bit more compost underneath it to raise the height a bit. Just put it towards the edge of the basket. And just ease compost in around the root ball. And just continue filling in with compost. Firm it down lightly with your fingertips. Don't ram it in too hard. But in a minute I'm going to water, and that will settle the compost down. If you find you don't get the positioning right first time, you can always take them out and move them around and adjust them. That's the joy of container gardening. They're very flexible. There There we go. That's just filled in around those with some compost. Ease it down around the root balls. Adjust the heights of the plants that you've put in. And there we are. The last thing I want to do is just to water that in. So water from above, settling the compost down. If the compost does sink down, you can just add a little bit more compost to fill in any gaps. But at this time of the year in the winter, it's not going to need a massive amount of water because it's been raining a lot recently, but just settle that compost down and the display is ready. The final thing I'm going to have to do is to put the chain back in place, and I can do that once I get to the bracket, just to make sure that the basket sits the right way round, and I can enjoy that display right the way through until spring. I hope it's given you a few ideas, and if it has, I'd be delighted if you could give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. If you have any other plants I haven't suggested or recommendations you'd like to make, please do drop me a message in the comments below, and also let me know what topics you'd like me to cover in future videos. That's all for now. Happy gardening!